Bear's been nice enough out this week, we figure we better just have a doubleheader.
Yes, let's go. Let's play two, Ernie Banks would say. Let's play two.
Hopefully you caught our wrestling preview in the last day or so. State this weekend, and now we dive into the boys basketball tournament. If you missed last week, we'll try to put a link down below here for you to click back, because maybe your girls' team hasn't started their tournament yet, but some of them did Tuesday night, so we got a head start on that last week, and now we dive into the boys tournament, which begins next Tuesday for some, next Friday for others. For Parker, Tuesday night at La Follette, they get the play-in game, and a Vikings team which was scheduled to wrap up against West and then play at La Follette in a regional quarterfinal, trying to get a win for the senior group on the way out.
You know, for as disappointing as the season's been and frustrating and whatever other adjectives you want to use to describe what's going on, I think if the Vikes could find a way to either beat West in the regular season finale or possibly go on the road and beat a La Follette team that I think they can play with, you know, at least you can take some solace in, again, what's been a really frustrating year for them. But, you know, a tall task, and the Vikings have struggled all year, and, you know, you just hope that when the season does end that, you know, the interest in that program doesn't wane so much that they can't get things turned around in the next 3-4 years.
The rest of the sectional, Sun Prairie sectional, to me it's wide open.
It is.
I mean, I talked about it when the brackets came out in the paper on Monday. You know, you have a 13th seed West that beat the top seed back early in the season.
Yep.
You have a Craig team that has beaten a Memorial that is the number 2 seed. You've got a Beloit team that beats Middleton at the buzzer. These are all any of those top 6 seeds to me could make this run. We saw, I think, was it East last year that made a little run.
Yep.
It wasn't really a top seeded sort of team.
Yep.
And I think, again, with all these Big 8 teams that are so close throughout the regular season, it should be fun to watch.
It should be. And I think, you know, don't count out the Cougars by any means, because they've proven the last couple seasons come tournament time, and especially this year with the seniors, you know, it's do or die. And they realize that. And I think, you know, there's going to be a little extra added incentive for those Cougar boys with Adam Anhold and Jake Negus and Santrell Payton and Nick Lynch and Jack Blomgren. I mean,
10 seniors, I think, were being honored Tuesday night at senior night. Yeah.
So, I mean, in a case for them, like you said, it's a bracket. They can play with anybody. Now, you know, they get Oconomowoc at home, a game they should win, and then it's off to Middleton. And Middleton just absolutely destroyed Stevens Point last week. And Point was the fourth-ranked team.
That was one of the most shocking scores.
Fourth-ranked teams in the state. They scored almost 100 points. And so again, I saw Middleton down here against Craig. They were lights out. Tyree Edie, I believe, and Storm Murphy didn't even play.
Right.
But then Craig went up there when Middleton was at full strength.
Right.
And
I was
had a
there
chance
for
to
that
beat
one,
him,
and Craig led for probably 92% of that game, and just kind of lost at the end when Storm hit a couple shots. And I guess you never know. That Middleton Stevens Point score was
crazy.
I did not see that coming.
I didn't either. No.
But yeah, Craig the 6 seed, Middleton's the 3. And Madison Memorial the 2 on that side of the bracket. I would expect to probably make it through at least to sectionals and be there waiting for Craig or Middleton, whoever makes it through there. And then you've got Sun Prairie the 1, Muskego the 4, the team that we don't see
and don't know much about, but obviously it's a good program and a Classic 8, which is a great conference. I mean, if you're coming out of there near the top, you've got a pretty good club. And I think the one team, you and I have talked about it, with Jalen Johnson, the fine freshman for Sun Prairie, back and healthy. He scored 26 against Memorial.
Sun Prairie's
got to be the team to beat, I would think. I mean, not saying the Cardinals are going to waltz into the state tournament. They're not. But I look for them. I think that's the best team in that bracket.
I think Beloit is an interesting case because they've played with the best at times, and sometimes they've gone off. Also, it's Jay Bryant's final run.
Yep.
They could use that as some motivation. So I think it'll be an interesting bracket. Looking at the D3 bracket, was always going to be kind of interesting to see how this one shook out, because it's just a bear every single year. You got Lake Mills, the number 1, and Evansville, the number 2, are the 2 teams that get the bye through to the regional finals next Friday. But you got a Turner team there, number 3, that took Evansville, gave them everything they could handle, and that would be pretty fun to see them match up in a regional final next Saturday night, the 4th.
I think Turner's playing as well as anybody right now. I mean, they've been on a roll for quite some time. And who's the 1 seed in that bracket?
Lake Mills.
Lake Mills, the L-Cats, who, you know, they play Lakeside. They're, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say they play as good a competition as what Evansville and them play, but, you know, it's still obviously a good team. But Turner's certainly capable of coming out of there. Evansville, again, for those seniors,
Well,
it's their last hurrah as well.
to me, the difference between the 2 and the 3 there was huge because not only do you get the bye through the regional semifinal, but it looks like Turner's probably going to play East Troy.
Yeah.
And the Trojans, they're not, at least at the start of the year, they weren't maybe their usual selves, but you've seen them lately. They have games where they can just pour on the points.
They were dynamite against Evansville at Evansville. I mean, they blew them out of the gym, and John Syriacs and the rest of those guys, Vukovic, I mean, they played.
Polakowski.
Yeah, they were lights out. I mean, and if they play like that, they can play with anybody. But I really think Turner, with the 1-2 punch of Fruin and Villarreal, I mean, I think that could take them places.
It's just brutal at Division III sectional every year, and I guess this is no different. It would be great for one of those senior groups, Evansville or Turner, to get that chance to play at the Cole Center.
It would, and again, let's hope it happens. I don't want to choose sides and say I hope it's Turner, I hope it's Evansville. Whoever it is, that's great.
I hope they can play each other, and I hope whoever makes it out gets
to state. I agree.
They would play at Fort in the sectional semi and Wanakee in a final. We'll be back here probably before then to talk about that. We'll see how these things shake out. Hopefully Craig would still be alive there too to play in sectionals at Middleton and maybe even Sun Prairie.
Sure.
In the Division II bracket, a couple teams there. I think Elkhorn's the one to keep an eye on just because they've played pretty well, especially late in the year. They got, speaking of 1-2 punches, they've got one of their own.
They do.
Alex Easterday and Ross Ingersoll.
Yep.
And they host Union Grove next Friday night in an opener. And we've also got area teams, Delavan Darien, the 6th seed, hosting 11th-seeded Milton on Tuesday night.
It's interesting. I talked to John Handel, who was a longtime coach at the Elkhorn boys, and he's got a son on the team now. And he said he really feels like their bracket is winnable simply because he thinks this is probably I don't want to say poorest, but the Lakes is down. I guess that's the best way to put it. He just didn't think this was a strong year for Lakes basketball boys. A real dominant team or anybody, and he said, if the Elks are on and they're playing well, they could come out of there, and it'd be a credit to them because those 2 seniors with Easterday and Ingersoll are 2 kids that are, they got a chance to play at the next level.
Should be fun as this thing gets rolling next week. We've got full girls coverage coming this week too. Shout out to our stringers, Tim Wester and Ben Wargel, who are helping us cover just a slew of games here over the next 2 weeks. We're going to have 3 and 4 game nights here in the paper, so make sure you pick it up and follow how these teams do and follow along on Twitter. And you can also email us at sports@gazetteextra.com or leave a comment below and just kind of let us know what you think of the show or who you're watching, who's your sleeper, who are your picks to make it through to state. And it's still February, but we're ready for the madness already. We're not waiting for March.
Let's go. It's 70 outside. Why
not? Enjoy the tournaments, everybody. We'll be back as they get cranking, and we'll see where teams land and how far they can make it through.
Take care, everybody. Go Bucky.